All right, so Edward made 8 points, 8 arguments. I'm going to respond to each and every single one of them. The first one, the verifiable evidence of something which is supernatural, which links to his second point, which is the non-evidence of miracles. I'm going to prove today that Edward believes in miracles. What did you say? Let me say again. Edward believes in miracles. What is a miracle? According to Edward and according to David Hume, it's a violation of the laws of nature. It's a violation of the laws of nature. What is a miracle? Something which goes outside the 5 senses, which can't be really detected by science. Because naturalism, according to the Oxford Concise Companion, or philosophy, is something which can only be seen by science. The Quran responds. It says, وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قال يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. He says, they say to us, he struck an example and they say, who's going to raise the dead when it becomes dust? The one who gave it life the first time. Now let's think of this. Have we ever seen the transition from chemistry to biology? No. This is referred to as abiogenesis. Yes? When chemistry becomes biology. Every study of biology presupposes this. Because if there's no such thing as a movement from chemistry to biology, there cannot be biology. Therefore, the dead became the living. Have you seen that? No. Have you sensed that? No. Is it scientific? No. Do you believe in it? Yes. It's a miracle. Just like Jesus raising the dead, it's a miracle. Just like the day of resurrection, it's a miracle. So just as all of those things will happen, the Quran says you can believe in all of that. It's premised on the movement from a non-living chemistry to a biology. You believe in it. We all believe in miracles. If that is how it's defined, and that's how he defined it. Number 3. The dependence of conscious minds on the brain, which is a philosophical discussion, frankly. Raymond Tallis, who wrote a book called Aping Mankind, he's a neuroscientist. He asked the question, if consciousness is in the brain, where is it in the brain? What's the natural explanation for where consciousness is in the brain? Really, frankly, the idea that you can lose consciousness through anesthetic and then be not in a state of consciousness is refuted by dreams. The existence of dreams. I close my eyes, but I see. How can you explain dreams? This is the problem of hard consciousness, the hard problem of consciousness. You can't bypass the academics. This is something that philosophers have been talking about since time began. Number 4. That the argument from evolution doesn't contradict theism. But which evolution are we talking about? Darwinian evolution after the 1960s? One thing will refute this. The problem of induction. Science has the problem of theory-ladenness, of induction, of interpretation, all of these things. You can't say that it's definite, and he didn't say that. He was careful in his wording. He says most likely. But that could be reformulated. If new data is found, it could be reinterpreted. It has been reinterpreted. In fact, there's more likelihood that our evolutionary conceptions will change. So you can't really use this as an argument. The argument from evil. What is evil? Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. On naturalism, evil does not exist. It's a cultural construct. It's a social construct. Look at the works of Bertrand Russell, of Nietzsche, postmodernists. Even Richard Dawkins in The Blind Watchmaker, he says there's no such thing as good. There's no such thing as evil. It's all pitiless indifference. That's what he says. Why? Because on naturalism, you cannot put morality under a microscope. There's no way of ascertaining that there is any morals on naturalism. There is no objective morality. What evil are you talking about? But for the sake of argument, let's say, okay, fine, evil exists. But we said it's not incompatible with wisdom of God. The Quran says again, هو الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. He's the one who has created life and death to see which one of you is best in deeds. If there was no evil, there would be no test. If there would be no evil, there would be no free will. What's the point of life then? What is the purpose of this? كل نفس ذائقة ذائقة الموت ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة وإلينا ترجعون. Everyone is going to die. Quran says, wait a minute. Everyone's going to die. I'm going to die. Eddie's going to die. You're going to die. And we will test you with good and evil as a test. And then you'll come back to us. It's a test. Without evil, there is no test. Next, divine hiddenness. We've already covered this. The fitrah. We're all born with the predisposition of God. There is evidence for this. Paul Bloom, Justin Barrett, many people have already said, we have analyzed empirical evidence of children, what is their natural instinct? It's mentioned, Justin Barrett says, they have a natural receptivity. They have a natural receptivity to the divine, a non-anthropomorphic God, not Jesus, not Buddha. We have natural inclination to God. And then that's reinforced by the prophets. That's the Islamic narrative. The prophets came to remind us of what we already knew. It's a dhikr. The Quran is a reminder. Just like if you were separated from your parents or your mother, and then you're reunited with her, she is by natural instinct. And the same thing with God. So we talked about divine unreliable revelations. I agree with this point. There are unreliable revelations, but I would want to see how that is the case with the Quran. There was no argument there. Chapter 4, verse 34, it's a bad translation, man in charge of women. There's only one translation, I think, or two. It's men are maintainers and protectors of women. And frankly, if you didn't believe this, you wouldn't draft men to the army in America. Men protect women, and they have done so. It's not saying that they're better than them. The Quran, and the Prophet said, إِنَّمَا النِّسَاءُ شِقَائِقُ الرِّجَالِ. Men are equal to women. So, the Quran says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنثَىٰ بَعْضُكُم مِّن بَعْضٍ. That God does not let to waste any action of a man or a woman, both of you. But anyways, go back to the idea of natural selection. On natural selection, the patriarchy on feminism is justified. Because if men can dominate women, that's a natural thing. What's the problem on naturalism? How can you justify feminism, second-wave feminism, on naturalism? That's an impossibility. You can't do it. Why not third-wave feminism? Why not the works of Judith Butler? Why not queer theory? Why not LGBT? Why it has to be second-wave, equal, the Eurocentric understanding of equality? How is that naturalistic? I'd want to see how he mechanistically shows us that. Hell, eternity, well, both of us can't be, Muslims and Christians can't be both right. You're right about that. But that doesn't solve any issue, doesn't create any problem. The translation problem, only one way to understand the language. There's a translation problem with mathematics. Is mathematics false, therefore? It's a language. If a translatable thing, it becomes false because of its content, and it has to be translated, then mathematics is false. Moral confusion. Yes, there's moral confusion, but just because there's controversy of something, it doesn't make it false. That's a fallacy. Argument from scale. He says 99.9% of the universe is not hospitable to human life. He's made the fine-tuning argument for me. And we're in a 0.01. So what is the possibility of that for real? I agree with you. A transcendent person, he defines person in a certain way. He says, well, God controls time and space. Simple as that. It's not really an argument. And I think, I've got a minute left. Have I got 1 minute left? Well. Here's the thing, guys. Don't be swayed by the red herring. The red herring is a moral red herring. The Quran says this about men. Look, here's the thing. On naturalism, no one is born equal. Yes? Why? Because actually liberalism is an outgrowth of something which is called the state of nature. It's a fictitious mythological construct which John Locke and Thomas Hobbes wrote in their books. It's not scientific. We came out of the state of nature and we became what? We became connected socially, contractually into the state. So the whole of liberalism and human rights, by extension, is a myth. It's a liberal myth. Show me on naturalism how liberalism is true. How we're all born equal. In fact, I'm told you know, you're average height. We're all different. On naturalism, we're all different. Thank you very much.